So, do avoidants discard partners? There's not complete agreement on this topic when it comes to coaches, therapists, psychologists. Many believe they do, many claim they don't. Let me explain to you why I believe that avoidants can and do discard partners. Now, not all avoidants do this. Let me make that clear. But discarding is not a normal breakup. In a normal breakup, there's communication. There's usually been dissatisfaction expressed about the relationship by one or both sides. It's not blindsiding. People see it coming. They know the relationship is coming to an end. There's communication about it. When the breakup happens, there's communication then too. There's closure given. There's explanations given as to why the relationship is ending. And there's empathy shown. In a discard, it is the polar opposite. It is blindsiding, quite traumatic. The person that's being discarded often didn't see it coming. And when they're being discarded, they're given little to no explanation as to why the relationship has to end. It's vague at best. And they're being completely deprived of a say or a voice in the breakup. It's unilateral. On top of it, there's little to no empathy shown. The person that's being discarded feels like they're being thrown in the trash. They feel like they never even mattered, like their feelings don't matter, like the whole relationship wasn't even real. That's why it's a discard. They're just thrown out as if they never even mattered. Now, the people who say that avoidants do not discard are relying on intent as to whether a breakup is defined as a discard or not. It is the behavior that defines a discard. If you're throwing someone in the trash, does it really matter why you're throwing them in the trash? You're still throwing them in the trash. And if you're the one being thrown in the trash, does it really matter why you're being thrown in the trash? Because you're being thrown in the trash. When you're in a relationship with somebody, you're in a relationship with their behaviors, how they treat you, not their intent. If you're being abused, does it really matter if the person that's abusing you intends to abuse you or not? You're still being abused. Same thing goes for the breakup. Now, yes, a narcissist, for example, will discard a partner for a vastly different reason. Narcissists go into relationships seeking narcissistic supply, which is the attention, validation, affirmation, adoration, and power and control that a narcissist feels entitled to. When they've exhausted your supply, when your supply is old and boring to them, yes, they'll throw you out because they have a new supply lined up. They're done with you. You are of no use to them anymore. Now, when an avoidant discards you, it's because of fear. It's because their fears have been triggered. They're acting out of fear. And they have a very specific set of fears. Fears of abandonment are the core of it, and it often lies in their subconscious. Fear of rejection and fear of losing their independence, the fear of engulfment, the fear that they're going to be controlled by the other person and no longer have the ability to be an independent person. And when they lose their independence, they're going to get rejected and abandoned. It all ties together. Avoidants are people that generally experience consistent emotional neglect as a child. And due to this consistent emotional neglect, they grew up to feel unlovable, like there's something wrong with them, that they are defective. In addition to the neglect, they often have their feelings routinely dismissed or rejected. So they learn that they can't express themselves and they learn that they are unlovable. Now they carry that forward to being an adult if they haven't healed these wounds. So when these fears get triggered, they can abruptly end a relationship. Due to that neglect and feeling unlovable, they don't feel comfortable with emotional closeness. They don't feel comfortable with any kind of disagreement. They don't feel comfortable expressing themselves. All these bottled up issues can lead and boil up into the point where they just can't take it and they just feel like they need to run for the hills, and they take their feelings and they suppress them. They bury them. They don't allow themselves to access those feelings. It's how they protect themselves. Because they fear that their partner is going to figure them out. Figure out that the avoidant is in fact unlovable, that they are defective. That's why they push people away. That's why they can discard partners, to preserve themselves, to preserve that inner defectiveness from being exposed, to prevent abandonment. They fear abandonment is inevitable, so it's safer to be the one doing the abandoning than to risk being abandoned themselves. It's all based off of insecurities. However, the behavior can come across almost identical to that of a narcissist, because when they are deactivated, which is when they self-preserve by shoving away their emotions, they can be quite cold, lack empathy, because they're not allowing themselves to access their feelings, because they've learned that their feelings are unsafe. Vulnerability is unsafe. Now, it can be very painful to be on the receiving end of, just as painful, sometimes even more so than that behavior of a narcissist. When they're doing this, they're only thinking of themselves. They are only thinking of what they perceive they want, need, feel, or fear in the moment. They're not considering the feelings of their partner. They're not considering the impact that the discard is going to have on the other person. That's the lack of emotional availability, because being emotionally available means that you are able and willing to empathize with the feelings of the other person, that you're willing to feel their feelings and pain along with them. Avoidants don't do that when they're triggered. They shut that off, hence the emotional unavailability. Narcissists and other people with similar personality disorders are also emotionally unavailable. That's why the behavior can be so incredibly similar when they're doing a discard. Yes, the intent is absolutely different, but the end result is they're taking a person, throwing them in the trash as if they never mattered, and showing them no empathy. So, if you're the one being thrown in the trash, you feel like you're being thrown in the trash. And to call it anything other than a discard would be invalidating the feelings and the experience of the person who is being discarded.